What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Coach Steve Show podcast. Please sure you're checking out all the weekly episodes. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Alabama and Tennessee. It was an exciting game they had. Alabama comes away with a big win, but it was a tough, earned win. It was a hard-fought game. We're also going to talk about, was this an audition for Coach Lane Kiffin? Well, he's coaching at Ole Miss, but he played LSU. Was this an audition for the LSU job that's going to be opened up at the end of the year? And is Oklahoma actually that good? Or did they just overlook Kansas? Or did Kansas actually play well and give them their best shot that they could? We're going to discuss all that today on this episode. Before we dive in, again, check out all the weekly episodes. Please subscribe to the Coach Steve Show YouTube channel. Follow it wherever you listen to your podcast in audio form, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, wherever you listen, you're going to find it there. I know if you follow it on Apple and Spotify, it's going to notify you when a new episode drops. You can also find this podcast at the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network. Go to bellyupsports.com. You can find this podcast, tons and tons of other podcasts, blogs, anything on fantasy sports, outside sports, anything like that. Go to bellyupsports.com, subscribe to that channel, subscribe to that website, subscribe to that YouTube channel as well. Also, this podcast and the Belly Up Sports podcast work with BetUS. If you go to BetUS-BellyUpSports and use the code JOIN125 and do a minimum deposit of $100, you're going to get 125% sign-up bonus, which is free money. Who does not like free money? This betting website has same-game parlays. You can bet on money lines, in-game bets, all for sports, and there's also a casino side of it. So with that 125% sign-up bonus, 100% is going to go to the sports betting side, 25% is going to go to the casino betting side, blackjack, poker, anything you can play in a casino is on there. So again, you use the link in the description below, do a minimum deposit of $100, use the code JOIN125. You're going to get 125% sign-up bonus, free money. And 100% is going to go to sports betting. 25% is going to go to casino betting. Also, if you're in the market for sunglasses for you guys that live on a beach, or if you're in the Midwest or in the North like me, and the snow is coming, winter is coming, and you need the sunglasses to keep the sun out of your eyes, the sand out of your eyes, the pesky snow when it's very bright. You know, people that live down south just don't understand. They don't understand that the snow can be very bright with the sun reflecting off of it, and you're driving or you're just out there trying to shovel or anything else. You guys in the South or the West have it pretty easy. You don't know what the sun is like. So this is going to go towards those people. People that the snow is coming, you need Yeats sunglasses, YEETZ. If you go to yeatsofficial.com, check out all their sunglasses. They have cool looking sunglasses, all different types of models, all different types of styles. And if you got a fat head like me where we got to keep all our stuff in our big brains, they have styles for everybody, even with a bigger head. They're stylish. It actually helps your vision a lot better. It does not stain. I guess you guys out in the West, you're on the beach, you're surfing, it gets, the water doesn't stick to it. The sand stays out of your eyes. If you see a stingray coming at you, it's going to help you see the stingray. You see a shark coming at you while you're out there, you're going to be able to see the shark a lot better. That's how much better your vision becomes when you actually put them on. When dunna starts coming at you, you're training for a sport. Anybody that's, training for baseball, college football, anything like that, these glasses are great. They're sweat-proof. They're waterproof. They're able to handle all of that type of stuff. Motorcycle rides, bikes, anything. These sunglasses, you could even sleep in them. They're that comfy. You could sleep in them. You could never take them off. You could be a sunglasses person the rest of your life. If you go to yeatsofficial.com, use the code CSS, you're going to get 10% off your order. And also, this company cares about the planet. They do beach cleanup programs, other community outreach programs, anything like that. And they're willing to listen to other programs that they should deposit their money to. So you're actually saving the planet. So every time you don't buy sunglasses, a beach doesn't get clean, kids don't get any money, anything like that, there's garbage all over the place. We got to clean the streets up. We got to clean everything up. So when you don't buy them, nothing gets clean. So go to yeatsofficial.com. The link will be in the description below. Use the code CSS, get 10% off your order. Let's get styling. Let's keep the sun out of our eyes. Let's go save the planet. So Alabama played Tennessee, Ole Miss played LSU, and Oklahoma played Kansas. We are going to start with Oklahoma. Oklahoma played Kansas. At halftime of this Oklahoma Sooner game against Kansas, going to say this again. Kansas was 10-0 Kansas. Then in the third quarter, Oklahoma wakes up a little bit and scores 14, but Kansas scores 7. Okay, it's now 17-14 Kansas. Then Oklahoma kind of wakes up. Now, first of all, Oklahoma, you ruined my parlay. I took the 38. So Kansas, congratulations to you. Oklahoma, you ruined my parlay. Thanks so much. So the big question is Oklahoma overrated? Now, it seems like they're overrated every year. Now, I guess it depends on your definition of overrated. Overrated is, do they play a tough schedule? Are they beating teams the way they're supposed to? And all that stuff. I don't think Oklahoma's offense has ever been considered overrated. Now, there is some turmoil. There's some things going on. You got Williams starting at quarterback, and Spencer Rattler's probably going to enter the transfer portal. Rumors that he doesn't care about the team and all that stuff. We're not going to speculate too much. But from watching him on that show on Netflix, I could probably tell you it's probably true that he does not care about the team. He cares about himself. But that's neither here or there. We don't really 100% know him. But the offense in the first half was not did not click. And here's what happens. So when Williams comes in the second half of Texas, nobody has film on him. They don't know how Lincoln Riley's going to call plays. Comes in, calls plays, everything else. Next game, they don't have much film, but just a little bit. They have to adjust. So Kansas has now a whole game film of him and a half. So Kansas has all this film on him. They're able to game plan for him. But the thing is, it's Kansas. I think Illinois would come in and rush for 500 yards, 600 yards on Kansas. So first of all, congratulations, or, good. This is a moral thing, I think. It was 35-23, but you played with Oklahoma, top 6 team in the nation. Now, here's the thing with Oklahoma. They came in, and you would think that they were going to play really good on defense. Alex Grinch, our defensive coordinator, coached a couple different places, but when he was at Washington State, had decent defenses. Again, we've talked about it before. I've talked about it. He runs that 3-5, 2-6 looking defense. Maybe it's a 3-2 or a 3-6 or whatever you want to call it. Speed defense. And they were supposed to come in and finally have a defense that was going to really play with their own offense. And they started out that way, and then it's kind of gone down. It's kind of fallen a little bit on their defensive side. So defensively, they struggled to stop Kansas. And the offense, when their offense is not scoring and you're trying to rely on the defense, no, thank you. That's not going to work. You're not going to be able to win games at Oklahoma when your defense is struggling. So when Alex Grinch's defense is not going well, the offense just wasn't clicking. They didn't get the run game going. They weren't able to convert. We're going to look at the complete stats here. You got to give credit to Jason Bean, the quarterback at Kansas. He was 17-13, took what the defense gave him, 246 yards and 1 touchdown. They had David Neal rush for 100 yards. Jason Bean himself ran for 59. So when your quarterback's throwing for 246, you're rushing for 59. You have another running back that's going to rush for 100. You're putting yourself in pretty good position. So Kansas defense really kept him in this. Kansas just had a simple offensive game plan. But Oklahoma's Oklahoma and overtook. Total yards, Kansas outdid them in total yards, 412, had more passing yards, 246 to 178. The rushing game got a little bit better for Oklahoma in the second half. They had 220 yards rushing versus 166. So they almost slipped up against Kansas. I honestly think they had more film on Williams. He's still trying to figure out how to play. Yeah, he can play. But still, he's a young quarterback coming in to figure this out. There's going to be that little slump. The defense is not Oklahoma's strong suit. So there's going to be some struggles. I just didn't think it was going to be of Kansas. Williams really did bail them out. But man, they outscored Kansas 35-13 in the second half. They won their 16th straight game. The big thing that kind of turned the corner for them was Trevon West. He sparked that Oklahoma offense with a 66-yard run. Led to Williams throwing a touchdown pass to get them up to 17-14. And then once that happens, it just kind of disappears on Kansas. Kansas doesn't have the dudes right now. They have a lot of things going on within that program. That's why the previous head coach is gone. So when we're going to look at Oklahoma's schedule, because of this, are they going to slip up? And it's quite possible that they can slip up. Now, when we look at their schedule, you got Texas Tech. They just got rid of their head coach. Then you got to play Baylor, who's playing pretty well, and they have a defense. Iowa State's going to always plays them tough, but Oklahoma State's playing better. So with this game, to me, talking about overrated, I don't think they're overrated. They are overrated and they're not. I don't really know what the word would be to call them overrated or not overrated. But every year this happens where they dominate, they might slip up in the middle of the season somewhere, or they get into a game like this. They are quote unquote overrated because I don't see them beating Georgia. I don't see them beating Alabama. I don't even see them beating an Ole Miss. They may not even be able to beat Ohio State. Now they're pretty good. Now next year they're probably going to be better when Williams has a whole, gets the system down. You'd have the rest of this year, the offseason. If Oklahoma goes undefeated, they are going to get roundhoused in the first round playing like this, especially with Kansas. Now, Kansas played very, very tough. So you got to give some credit to Kansas. I'm looking at Oklahoma's schedule. I am predicting they lose to Baylor. It's going to be an exciting game, but Baylor's defense is playing well. And if you give more film to Coach Aranda of Williams, he's going to have something dialed up. So I don't know if Oklahoma's overrated, but I don't think they need to be where they're at. They never should be where they're at. But watch out. I'm going to call that Baylor upsets Oklahoma in that game. Ole Miss plays LSU. Now, we all know what's happened with LSU. I've done it before and talked about it before. But Lane Kiffin's name has been thrown around for this LSU job. Now, I could see it happening because it'd be a big splash hire. That offense at LSU will immediately turn around. Immediately turned around when he got to Alabama. Immediately turned around when he got to FAU. Immediately turned around when he got to Ole Miss. Then you're going to have a little bit different players there for their defense. Ole Miss's defense is better this year than it was last year. The thing for me is I would love to see Lane Kiffin just stay there and build something on his own. Stay there for a couple years and build it up. But the talk is, LSU is this big-time job and want him to take in all that stuff. So this was supposed to be an audition for Lane Kiffin. Ole Miss comes away with the win, 31-17. In the first quarter, LSU continued their role like they did against Florida. But then after that, it just kind of was all Ole Miss. Ole Miss scored 17 in the second, 14 in the third. And then LSU started to figure it out. They scored 10 in the fourth. But Ole Miss is kind of beat up. And even though they're beat up, they really went after. LSU kind of came back down to earth. They had a hard time. They've had, we've talked about the injuries. So for this, was this an audition for Lane Kiffin? And I guess yes. I mean, his whole coaching career is one. But yeah, I mean, I think if Ole Miss hires or LSU hires Lane Kiffin, it would be a great hire. I just don't know. I feel really bad for LSU. I really thought they could come in, and I didn't pick them to win this game, but I thought it would be a lot closer than what it was. Thought they were going to continue the momentum. But I mean, Corral played decently well, 18 of 23 for 185 yards. He also had 24 rushing yards. Now, he's a little banged up, so they try to not run him as much. So Connor, the running back, at 117 yards. Jaron Ely had 97 yards. They showed up to play. But Matt Corral's leadership, he's going to be a candidate for the Heisman. LSU just couldn't really get anything going. David Price comes off setting the career record at LSU for rushing yards in a game, only gets 53. So Ole Miss's defense each and every week has gotten better. They have gotten better. They're figuring out the defensive system. So that's why a part of me says Lane Kiffin just stay at LSU. The players have gotten the offense. They're going to figure that part out. You're going to be able to get to score points. Stay and get this defense settled. Ole Miss is not a bad job to have. I know LSU is on a different level, but I don't know if I really like it, only because I want to see him stay. And again, he goes to LSU. I think next year, Ole Miss is coming into LSU, but you talk about fans traveling to throw stuff at him, like, Jesus. And then the next time he goes to Ole Miss, there's going to be something thrown at him that I don't even know. There's going to be bricks. There's going to be shoes. There's going to be more golf balls and everything else. Yeah, but that first quarter, Ole Miss looked beat up. LSU comes in all hyped up and looks fresh and looks like they did against Florida. And then Ole Miss just took over. And then, again, you feel bad for LSU. The thing with LSU is, again, I don't want Ed to be fired, but if this is the decision they're going to go with, why do it now? Or why keep him around? He might as well just go now. I know he wants to fight out with his players that he recruited and everything else, but it seems kind of awkward. It seems like you break up with somebody and you live with them, like that type of thing, or you're in an argument with a roommate and then you stay in the same place, that type of stuff. But Ole Miss looks pretty good, but they're getting beat up. If you play in the SEC, you're going to get beat up. Ole Miss, I think they have like a 10% chance to make the playoffs. We look at they're going to have a huge game next week against Auburn. If they can win against Auburn, then they have to play Liberty, in which they should win. Then you got a tough game. Like, they have the opportunity to go win all of the rest of their games. And if they do, they're going to have a case for maybe the SEC championship, but they lost to Alabama. They're going to make a small case about how Alabama's season goes, but they're going to make a case for the playoffs. So that's going to be crazy. If Alabama makes it to the SEC championship game and beats Georgia, you'd have to put in Alabama, you have to put in Georgia. Ole Miss is going to make a case if they win the rest of their games. So it's going to be crazy. Ole Miss kind of holds their destiny in that aspect, trying to get there. But, Ole Miss from the go, they had 470 yards versus 326 yards. LSU had more passing yards because they were playing catch up. But Ole Miss had 266 rushing yards, and LSU only had 77. LSU needs to stick to their gap run schemes to have any sort of, way to try to compete. But looking at their schedule, they got Alabama next. And I'm sorry, LSU, you are not going to beat Alabama. Then you got Arkansas, which some people think they can, but I think Arkansas is playing pretty well. You got University of Louisiana Monroe, should be able to beat them. Then you got Texas A&M, who is playing better. So LSU may only win one game, maybe two tops. And that's going to put an end to Coach Ed Orgeron. Now, if you win two, you get to a bowl game, and that's fantastic. But yeah, I mean, poor LSU. Ole Miss really took it to them. Corral's a little beat up, but their defense is starting to figure out their system. And if that defense figures out their system and the offense keeps rolling, that's why I'm talking about Ole Miss maybe making a case to make the playoffs, because your only loss is Alabama. Now, it depends. If Alabama loses to Georgia, I don't know if Ole Miss squeaks their way in. If LSU or Alabama beats Georgia, that makes a huge case for Ole Miss, saying, look, we lost to that team that beat Georgia, who some of you think is one of the absolute best team in this by far. Makes a case for them to make it into the college football. And I lose another game, then the talk's over. But going back to the main point, this was an audition, I guess, for Lane Kiffin. People have talked about that, and I think he passed. He's passed this whole year. He passed last year. But Lane Kiffin, I think you need to stay at Ole Miss and build that into an LSU. I know his competitiveness wants to go to LSU, a big-time program. Make this a big-time program, Lane Kiffin. You could be the one that makes this a big-time program. Make it a destination spot. You're a good recruiter. You're good with offense. Those players figure out the defensive system. The younger players are going to figure it out underneath of them. You do that, and you build it up. Your career, people are going to talk about you like this. And who cares about what Mike Wilbon says? You are not a clown. You are a fantastic coach. Stay there and build it up. Now, if you go to LSU, you won't be upset about it. I completely understand. But stay there, build it up. You'll be good. Then we had the big rivalry game. Now, to some, this is not a rivalry game at all anymore, because the definition of a rivalry to me is every other year, a year. And